We've been seeing a lot of leaks, also known as marketing campaigns, coming out of Valve with regards to SteamOS and potentially new hardware. I've said it before, I don't believe for a second that most of these are leaks. These are things intentionally placed in a location that data miners are gonna find them. Otherwise, Valve has zero data security. Now, I've already done a full video on most of these supposed leaks, but as a recap, there were changes made to the Steam branding guidelines that included a new logo for third-party devices that are shipping SteamOS. There were renders discovered of a potential new Steam controller too. There were also renders for the ROI, the controllers for the long-teased Deckard VR headset. There were also kernel commits made indicating a device known as the Fremont, which, based on other things that can be found, is likely a PC or home console style device. And then there are things that are not leaks whatsoever, but instead happening out in the public, like the collaboration between Arch Linux and Valve, Arch Linux being the basis for SteamOS. By the way, this was all about improving the packaging toolchain, ensuring the packages that get to users are safe and secure. Now, 2025 is shaping up to be a very interesting year when it comes to Valve, Linux gaming, and the Steam and SteamOS ecosystem. I will be very, very surprised if we don't see something coming from Valve. Along with that, maybe from third parties as well, on January 7th. So what happens in January? Well, January is CES, and lots of companies like to announce things at the event, and one of the companies that will be there is Lenovo. Now, Lenovo is one of the many companies out there that after the Steam Deck came out, they made their own Steam Deck competitor, that being the Lenovo Legion Go. Go away with your stupid AI chat thingy. This is a very interesting device. It has a 144Hz display, a 49.2 watt-hour battery, and according to the technical specifications, the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor. I love the way that AMD names their stuff. Please never change. Just keep up the aesthetic. Which, looking at benchmarks, quite easily outperforms the Steam Deck. Outperforms the Steam Deck at the cost of much lower battery life. So, you know, it's the trade-off. If you like that, hey, it's your thing. Do whatever you want. But as it currently stands, this device is also powered by Windows 11, like most of the other Steam Deck competitors out there. And about a week and a half ago, some leaks started circulating about a new version of this device. Lenovo might soon announce a SteamOS handheld. An unannounced handheld gaming PC has appeared online with a Steam button ahead of CES 2025. It's really hard to tell because all of the pictures we have are very low quality, but this right here is a Steam button. This image makes it a little bit easier to tell. It's still pretty low quality, but it's pretty obviously a Steam logo there. It's very much not the logo of the Lenovo Legion. Now, the way that people found out about the name is actually kind of funny. So, somebody released a BIOS update for the device before the device came out. So, somebody screwed up a little bit there. But again, as I said about the Valve leaks, I don't believe that anything is actually a leak. Because companies know how much marketing hype there is behind these leaks, a lot of them are almost certainly not fake devices, just fake leaks. They just put out there intentionally. While the low-resolution images don't immediately scream SteamOS, if you look closely, you'll notice a Steam logo is visible on a button to the left of the display. Interestingly, the white model doesn't have the same Steam button, which could indicate Lenovo is preparing Windows and SteamOS-powered models of its Legion Go S. Now, for some reason, this article doesn't actually include those images as well, but a separate one did. And this logo, which is also very low quality, looks a lot more like the Lenovo Legion logo, so it's like a generic OS button. Now, by itself, this difference doesn't 100% guarantee this is a SteamOS-powered device, and this is a Windows-powered device. These are renders that are available. It is entirely possible one of them is a real device, the other one was a device they were working on beforehand before they slightly changed the design. But if this is a SteamOS-powered device, there's also no guarantee that the black version is SteamOS and the white version is Windows. There could be a black and white variant of both devices. Now, what does give a lot more hope that this actually is a SteamOS-powered device and this is a third party building off of SteamOS is something that happened a little bit later. An email that was sent over to The Verge. The future of gaming is coming to CES 25 and you have a front row seat, the email my inbox exclaims. Let me translate. It looks like Lenovo just tacitly confirmed it will announce its first SteamOS handheld in Las Vegas on or before January 7th, 2025. Why do I say that? The January 7th event titled Lenovo Legion x AMD, The Future of Gaming Handhelds, will feature a special guest, Valve, SteamOS, and Steam Deck co-designer Pierre-Louis Griffiths. Lenovo and AMD are calling him Valve's chief design architect for the purposes of this event. Now, your specific role at Valve is very, fluid. Everyone is technically, a designer, so any term they want to call themselves is basically fine. Now, the reason why he is very important, and not just some random person at Valve, which also would be important, you have a Valve person directly speaking at your event at CES related to gaming. The reason why he is important is if you go back through any of the Steam Deck videos, he's probably gonna be in most of them. But a Valve person isn't their only special guest. Also, Jason Ronald, Microsoft VP of Xbox Gaming Devices and Ecosystem, will also be in attendance. He's now being introduced as Microsoft's VP of Next Generation. Man, the titles at big companies, they're just... they just, throw titles at people. Now, alongside those other leaks, another device that was leaked that will probably be shown at the event is a larger device with detachable controls, similar to something like the Switch. But this one is probably going to be Windows-powered. But considering that one of their devices may end up being powered by SteamOS, I would be very surprised if you couldn't get SteamOS working properly on this as well. I don't know how the controllers are going to work exactly, so that'll be very much up for discovery, I guess we'll say. We're also expecting Lenovo to hedge its bets with a Windows version of the smaller Legion Go S based on those same leaks. It's a reasonable bet some, if not all of these devices, will come with AMD's yet-to-be-detailed Z2 Extreme chips. This is likely the white version of the device that we saw earlier. Again, I love the AMD naming. Now, with Microsoft also being there and everybody else currently having a handheld, yes, Sony technically has one. The PlayStation Portal's a stupid device, but it technically exists. Microsoft is the only gaming company that doesn't have a handheld right now. We're not currently expecting Microsoft to surprise with an Xbox handheld at the event, as gaming boss Phil Spencer has suggested that might be a few years away. But it's possible that Microsoft and Lenovo will try to suggest that all handhelds are Xbox handhelds, like Microsoft does in its new "This is an Xbox" marketing campaign, which honestly would make sense. Microsoft remembered that they actually own Windows, so they can, market Windows as also being a thing related to gaming. Imagine that. Now, I would like there to be a second Steam Deck from Valve, an actual Steam Deck at some point in the future, and I think basically everybody else would as well. The Steam Deck's been out for a couple of years now, and current AAA games is, getting a bit tougher to run them, and some upgrade would be nice, and Valve has said they do want to do an upgrade when there's a big enough of a leap, so hopefully at some point it does happen. But if you actually care about Linux gaming, and not just Linux gaming handhelds, but Linux gaming in general, you shouldn't just want Valve to be releasing new Linux-powered gaming devices. What you should want is there to be an ecosystem of Linux-powered gaming devices. They don't have to be powered by SteamOS. They could go and do their own thing. They could go and run Bazit. At the end of the day, it's all using the same tooling underneath. But if the expectation here is true, and this is powered by SteamOS, this is a massive step in a positive direction, especially so if this device actually sells well and is actually competitive with the Steam Deck, because if that's the case, that'll convince another company to do it, and another company, and eventually you get to a point where even if the Steam Deck doesn't exist anymore and they're just focusing on developing SteamOS, you have all of these devices that care about supporting Linux. If you want to talk about the year of the Linux desktop, is this the year of the Linux desktop? That is how you make it happen. You make it easy for normies to use Linux. You make it so they can just go and buy a device, and that device is using Linux. And maybe they just use Linux in the context of gaming, but that is one step. If you can solve the gaming problem, that makes Linux just generally a lot more approachable. I've said it before, I would not have been using Linux, I would not have switched to Linux if Proton didn't exist and Proton wasn't in a good state. And you might say, oh, you don't need to game. No, I don't need to game, but I also don't want to dual boot. And keep in mind, I'm the kind of person who is willing to install an operating system and willing to set up something like Arch. Most people don't install operating systems. Most people buy a new computer that has the new version on it. This is why Microsoft made it easier to migrate between different versions of Windows, at least till we got to Windows 11, where, you know, they did that whole thing. Separate issue. But people don't install operating systems unless they're already relatively technically savvy. Now, my expectation is if we do start seeing some sort of an ecosystem, early on, I would expect there to be some usage of SteamOS on these devices, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be how it goes long run. I would expect SteamOS to be used as like a baseline or maybe something like Bazit, and then customized and modified to be what that specific company wants for their branding, because it would be weird if you had all of these third-party devices that all just look like a Steam Deck when you run it. Like, that just wouldn't make any sense from what they're trying to sell. Why wouldn't you just buy a Steam Deck then? They'd want to make it seem like it is their own device, even though it is basically all just Linux at the end. It's all basically just Arch Linux. Now, with that being said, I've seen a lot of growing interest in things like SteamOS and things like Bazit. A lot of, like, mainstream tech YouTubers saying, oh, Bazit is so great for gaming. When SteamOS is released more generally, I'm gonna run it on my system. For example, there is this video, from Digital Foundry. Bazit, SteamOS for Windows PC handhelds. Is it a game changer? Now, at the end of the day, yes, Bazit is a good distro, but it's literally just another Linux distro. Yes, it's configured like SteamOS out of the box. It looks like SteamOS, but it's just a Linux distro. It's not doing anything special that you can't do on another distro. But there is a lot of brand value and a lot of additional value in a gaming distro. This is why gaming keyboards sell well, and gaming mice, and gaming chairs, and gaming butt plugs, and whatever else you want to say, because Linux can be confusing, right? Like, you don't necessarily know, unless you're someone who has used Linux for a while, that there's nothing special about our gaming distro. It's just a Linux distro that has, like, gaming wallpapers and maybe some packages installed, but, like, that can be kind of confusing for someone who doesn't really know what configuration they might need to do. I do think it's a little bit misguided to focus on these gaming distros, but if it gets a lot more normal people actually trying out Linux, I think that's just a good thing for everyone, because once we have an ecosystem, then issues like the anti-cheat problem are going to go away, because whilst developers can choose to fix the problem now, if it goes from a couple of percent to maybe like 8, 9, 10%, now it becomes a lot more compelling to think about whether it's a good idea to actually revert the change we have and actually make it so you can play these anti-cheat games on Linux. I will absolutely be checking into CES on January 7th and seeing what actually comes from this. I really hope this is a third-party device running SteamOS, or if not SteamOS, some Linux-powered thing. They could call it Lenovo OS or Legion OS, whatever they want to call it. But more Linux-powered gaming devices, I think, is just a good thing. But let me know your thoughts down below. Do you want more people on Linux? If you don't, I want to hear a compelling reason why Linux shouldn't be more popular, because I don't think you actually have one. But I might be wrong. Anyway, if you liked the video, go like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe to the Brodie, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and Lenovo. We'll just end it there. I don't know what to say. Something like this.